Hi, hello, today we're doing another Reddit story video. Another trans Reddit story video. So let's get started. Am I the asshole for telling my mother not to use alternative remedies on my son? I can't stop thinking about this. My mother's 60s recently babysat my son, overnight while my husband and I went out with friends. My son has been unwell with a cold for just over a week. Initially, I said I would stay home with him and that we wouldn't need a babysitter, but my mother insisted I go out. I warned her that he hasn't been sleeping through the night since he's been sick, so it could be rough, and told her that if he woke up with a fever to give him some medicine to lower his temperature and offer him water, but that he would settle back down once the medicine kicked in. The original plan was for my mother to come to our house to babysit, but she asked to babysit him and hers, so we dropped him off the 3-hour round trip, and she dropped him back to ours the following day. The next day when I asked how the night went, she said that it was awful. He didn't sleep much, he was feverish and coughing. I asked if she gave him the medicine, and she said that she did, but when it didn't appear to work, she cut up an onion and put it in his socks and said that he hasn't coughed since. She sounded proud when she said it, and a little defiant. Now my issue isn't the remedy she used, it's where she heard it from. Her Facebook is a right-wing echo chamber filled with scaremongering about trans rights and anti-vax sentiments. She got the idea from a woman she follows on Facebook whose Wikipedia page says that she has no medical qualifications and promotes dangerous and unsubstantial alternative medicine claims. This isn't the first time she suggested doing this when he had a cough, but this is the first time she could test it herself. Here's where I may be the asshole. I asked her where she heard the remedy from, and she said, from Dr. Barbara O'Neill. And I waited until it was just us in the room. Then I said, no more Barbara O'Neill. And my mother reacted with anger and defiance. She said that I didn't know what it was like, and she was worried, and that she thought he was going to vomit from coughing so hard. I said that I did know what it was like because he's been like that all week. There was some back and forth before she seemed to resign and agree no more alternative remedies. However, it didn't feel sincere, which worries me that next time she won't tell me about it. My husband thinks I was an asshole because of timing. She just did us a huge favor by babysitting and making a 3-hour round trip just to bring him back to our house the next day, which I did appreciate and thanked her for. He does agree with my sentiment, but thought it could wait for another time. Just wanted to nip it in the bud then and there before my mother thinks she can experiment with alternative medicine remedies on my son, but now I feel guilty. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Added to address some of the common remarks. My issue wasn't the remedy, it was where she heard it from. I'm aware onions and socks are fairly harmless. My son had a runny nose, a mild cough, and on two nights he was feverish. It just happened that one of those nights was when he stayed at my mother's. I did not party all night. I was home by 11. My mother requested that she have my son to herself for the night. She always laments that she never gets to spend enough time with him on her own. My mother is not against modern medicine. I have no reason to believe that she didn't give him the medicine. Well, this isn't exactly about trans people, just pointing that out. It does talk about an alt-right trans, anti-trans, anti-vax thing, which I get why she's upset with that. The people in that group are probably the same type of people who said you could drink hand sanitizer to get rid of COVID or whatever the fuck it is. If you are in a group like that, if you are in an anti-vax group, ignoring the trans part of this, even though this video is about trans people, but ignore the trans part of this. If someone's in an anti-vax group, I wouldn't really trust them with anything medical-wise. It's common sense that vaccinations work and you should get vaccinations so that you don't get sick. Too long didn't read. If someone's in an anti-vax page, I'm not going to trust them with anything regarding healthcare, especially on a child of mine or a family member of mine. I would run. I would tell them they could not get near my family member. And I don't think she's selfish for saying that. It is very dangerous because while the advice that she took was harmless, what if there was less harmless advice and she took that and used that? We're going easy on this mother because the advice was just putting onions in socks. But what if the advice was actually something harmful? Would she have still followed it, believing that these alt-right people are, anti-vax people are right? I think, no, it really needed to be nipped in the bud. She helped you with babysitting and stuff, yeah, but first off, I think OP said that she didn't mind not going out. And second off, I think even though she did you a favor, it's a health risk to have someone near your child who believes in anti-vax sentiments and stuff, you know? I don't know why the verdict on it says poo mode activated, which what? First off, what? Second off, all the comments are not the asshole. So I don't know why it says poo mode activated, but okay. Am I the asshole for pointing out how unpleasant my sister-in-law has been since she came out? So I, 36, non-binary, have a sister-in-law, 48, female, who I'll call A. We've been pretty close until yesterday when I called her out on her behavior. I sent her a message asking how she was, and she called me to update me as to how things have been, and the conversation turned to me. I explained a problem I have, and she said how I needed to find someone I could trust implicitly to chat with who could help me with my mental health problems. Ideally, a close friend. My partner has a list of things he's currently working through and has to live with me. I don't want to add more on to him. She suggested C, 44 male. I told her that while C is great to talk to, he's been constantly trying to get into my pants for the last few years. A said that that's because I constantly flirt with him. I've happily been in a relationship for 15 years. I absolutely do not flirt with him. And that's why I keep getting unwanted sexual attention. She went on to say that I flirt relentlessly with every man I meet, and that is probably why I got attacked several years ago. Attacked is in quotes. She said that my daughter was headed for the same pattern, at which point I, dumbfounded, hung up the phone. I messaged her later that day after a long chat with my partner about what to say, and let her know that I was disgusted with what she said to me, and since she came out, she is trans, and discovered her truth, she's turned into a bit of a bitch. This behavior literally started within a week of her coming out. She talks down to people if they have a problem, and pins their problems on them, even if they're not caused by them and are caused by external stressors. Psychoanalyzing everyone like she's got a degree, accusing people of being transphobic if they don't agree with an opinion of hers. She's done that to my partner twice. He no longer contacts her, and is just generally being unpleasant to be around, as she judges everything you do, literally from the way I sit to the way I wear my jeans. She's also judged my daughter for the way she holds her pen. My kid is 9 and holds a pen just fine. She messaged me back saying I'm transphobic. I'm absolutely not. I'm non-binary and my closest friend is trans. Unfortunately, I can't go to her for help since she has her own issues and I don't want to add to them. And how hateful I am. Am I the asshole for telling her how unpleasant she's been since she came out? Edit to add. I've had a couple of people point out that my wording is off, and I sincerely apologize for that. I'm not transphobic at all, and didn't tell her off because of her being trans. I would never in a million years. But I told her off because a pattern has been noticed by multiple people of how her behavior changed around a week after she came out. My apologies if I come across as transphobic. That isn't me and wasn't my intention. First off, I don't think they're the asshole. This person, the A or whatever her fucking name is, blamed the assault that the LP dealt with on her and said she was flirting with some dude when she obviously wasn't. And she's been in a committed relationship for 15 years. So this person just sounds obnoxious. I'm trying to think like how I feel about the idea that, a personality can kind of change when you come out. I think you become more comfortable when you come out. And maybe when she's comfortable now, she feels okay to be a bitch and not be like friendly, which is weird, but I guess that's a thing. I don't know. When I came out, I got way more comfortable. I'm a bit more vocal now than I was before. I think it could be the same thing with this person, that they're more vocal than they were before, and they're more willing to be negative now that they've come out and they've accepted their truth and all that stuff. But it doesn't like give her the right to be so rude. You know, like she can come out, she can feel more confident, feel more feel more comfortable to be vocal with things. You still need to be a good person, you know? And the idea that this person is trans and is going to call her transphobic for not agreeing with her, but then tell her that she's flirting with everybody and disregarding her assault. I don't know. I don't know. The audacity of some people. Audacity, like testosterone. Audacity. Get it? Okay. Am I the asshole for making a man on the bus think I'm a trans woman? I, late 20s, am non-binary that uses the they, she pronouns. I was AFAB and don't mind being referred to as a woman socially, just prefer they, them a little more than she, her. I also happen to use the public transit to go everywhere I need. As someone very femme-presenting that's used public transport since elementary, I've been creeped on since before I hit puberty. When I started taking the bus, When I started taking the bus by myself in high school, I took up a lot of what I call protective behaviors. I manspread aggressively, burp loudly and constantly. If I cross my legs, I do so like how I see men do, with the ankle on the knee, basically to be a stereotypical rude guy, taking up as much space and making as much noise as possible. I only do it for when I notice guys are in my vicinity being rude first, or being creepy, like staring at me, ignoring the fact that I'm ignoring them to hit on me. Anyways, the actual purpose of this post. A few months ago, a guy had started getting on at the same stop I take home from work. He introduced himself a few days after I noticed he was a new regular. We've been making small talk until our bus arrives. Wave by when he gets off first. Today he asked me out and unprompted said he was cool with me being trans. Non-binary technically falls under the trans category, but I never once told him I was non-binary, so I asked how he knew I was. He got confused and asked what I meant by non-binary, and when I explained, he got red in the face and said, "I thought you were a trans woman," and got mad at me for tricking him. He said the way I sit on the bus and at the stop was so masculine, he thought I was pre-surgery and protecting the bits, which, wild. I asked if me not having balls would be an issue, and he didn't answer, just ignored me and sat as far away from me as possible on the bus. I genuinely thought he was a cute guy, but now I'm conflicted. I didn't mean to make him think that of me, but now it feels weird and I can't help but think he's a chaser or something. So am I the asshole for making him think I'm a trans woman? And also asking about the lack of balls being an issue? Added to clarify, no, I don't think my protective measures are only done by rude, masculine people. As much as possible, I try not to burp on the bus, mostly at the stop or when walking in public and think I'm being followed. If it's a crowded bus, I'm stuck next to a guy that's manspreading in my seat. That's when I aggressively manspread into him, usually knocking my knee into his knee thigh repeatedly and with as much force as I could tolerate till he gets the picture and goes back to his own chair. I do other things I've mentioned in the comments, but I specifically drew attention to the super played up, super stereotypical gross man character I play, because I figured those ones related most to the reasons why a bus guy thought I was a trans woman. Obviously, OP is not the asshole. They're just existing, and this person assumes that they are a trans woman and gets upset when they aren't. So yes, they are probably a chaser. Just the idea that this behavior is done because they are a trans woman is kind of transphobic to me. The OP isn't connecting these two things. OP just is trying to be a gross dude with these habits. But the guy is assuming because of those habits that they are a trans woman, which is transphobic in my opinion. Well, obviously OP's not the asshole. This dude is a chaser and really out of line. I don't get... Well, no, it's because he's a chaser. I was gonna say I don't get why he's so, like, turned off when, and, like, goes to the other side of the bus when he finds out she's not trans. But, no, it's the only reason he's upset is because he wants to be with a trans woman because he's a chaser. I mean, there's also the other very slim possibility that he's just embarrassed that he thought they were a trans guy, trans girl. But that's, in my opinion, a slim chance that it's because of embarrassment, and probably more so because the chaser thing, and also maybe a little bit of embarrassment still, but moving on. Last story. I don't know if this is about being trans. I looked up trans and am I the asshole, and this came up. So am I the asshole for telling a family friend something explicit she once told me but in front of everyone? Trigger warning for the next story. There's a lot of transphobia just like right away. So if you don't like that, you should probably just see you next week. A couple of years ago when I turned 18, I started transitioning female to male, and my mom and our family friends kind of lost it. With this one lady, Sarah, 60-ish, pulling me aside at lunch and making me cry, saying I was going to end up dead in a ditch and I was better off doing heroin, and that I'd spend the rest of my life taking it up the ass from gay men. What? I cut her off and went to college. Haven't seen her much since then. Recently, I've grown my hair out and started expressing myself more femininely. I'm still queer, just more comfortable in my identity, and I like how I look this way. I'm home for the holidays, and my family and Sarah's had a dinner together, and while we were setting up, she came over smiling and said she was grateful to see that I'd come to my senses and stopped with the trans stuff. I told her, not yelling, but in a clear voice so that everyone nearby could hear if they were listening, "Oh no, Sarah, I'm still fucking gay men in the ass. Go find someone else to be the daughter you never had." She has 3 sons. She made this angry noise and said, "How fucking dare you," and stormed off. 2 sons, the husband and my mom heard. Nobody in her family, husband or sons, knows what happened when I was 18 because I didn't make a big deal out of it all at the time. They just know we had a falling out. My mom forgave her because they're best friends, but now the secret's out, and when some of her sons asked what the hell that was, I told him. So now her family's mad at her too, but my mom's mad at me for dredging up old stuff and being both inappropriate and rude. But I think fighting with fire is fine, especially considering she never actually listened to me but shoved her opinions on me. But am I the asshole? It might have been uncalled for, and now I've started stuff between Sarah and her sons. Obviously not the asshole. You just repeated what she said to you, and if something is so bad that she doesn't want people to know she said it, then she shouldn't have said it to begin with. You don't say something that you aren't willing to have other people hear, you know? If you're gonna say something and you don't want people to hear that you've said it, you just shouldn't say it to begin with. There's nothing good that someone would say that you don't want repeated to another person, unless it's like a surprise or a Christmas present or something like that. And I think the mom is so fucked up for being like, "You're bringing up old drama from the past." The mom hears him say what Sarah said to him, and then doesn't say like, "Oh, don't say that to my son. Oh, don't say that to my kid." She goes, "Don't drag up old drama." If anyone said something like that to one of my family members, if someone said something like that to me, my mom and I would cut off anyone who did that. Like, if anyone said that to one of my family members, I would cut them off instantly. There are people who have wronged my family members who they are still fine with, but I don't like them. And I will shit talk them constantly. You just know that this is a horrible mom. Sorry OP if you don't agree with this, but I think this mom just needs a fucking reality check. Because if you're gonna hear someone say to your kid, some like 60-year-old say to your kid, "You're gonna get fucked up the ass by gay men," and you don't think that is fucked up, and don't see that as like threatening and something that should not be happening, I don't know what's wrong. Like, there's something wrong, but I don't know what it is. Those sons are so cool for being upset with her for saying that. And, like, they are allies. Hello, love you guys. If you see this by the slim 0.000000001 chance that you see this. Oh yeah, and that was all transphobia, like, aside. I was saying it like it's just something negative, but no, the whole thing was transphobic from the second I started reading the paragraph, and then I go, "Oh, I need a trigger warning for this." And so I had to record the trigger warning you saw before the story in the middle of reading the story, because I react to these things as I'm reading them to you guys. So if there's something that has a trigger or something like that, I can't really figure out if it has a bad like trigger until I start reading it. So, alright, that was the video. I will see you guys next time. I'm gonna make another Reddit video before the holidays, but happy start of holidays. Also, oh god, you guys gotta see my Jeff Probst shirt. Hold on, okay, look it. You can get it, I got this on the TikTok shop. It was way too big for me, so I had to take it in, but, yeah. And if you guys watch Survivor by any chance, let me know who you want to see win Survivor this season in the comments below. And I will know that you've watched this horrible video to this point. Alright. Bye. See you guys later.